recording? I have no idea. Usually when this starts recording, I have zero idea. But welcome to Face of the Franchise, NFL Draft Edition. I'm your host, Michael Pharaoh Shanoudi, and that is – wait a minute. That is not Joey. It is our annual draft expert, Sumuke. Welcome to the show again, my man.
What's going on? Not an expert, but here to, this is a hobby of mine more so.
I mean, it's better than Joey. I mean, Joey would have said 12 different things by now. The draft, we would have had no way to done this draft. I mean, this is great. I'm happy you're here. You and me have talked a lot on the side about what we want to see from different teams. Obviously, you being an Eagles fan, me being Steelers fan, we'd love to see growth. Yours is to win a Super Bowl. Mine is I hope that Kenny Pickett does well. That's it. So,
yeah.
No, I mean it's great since the Super Bowl and the Combine. It really gets to this point where we're just like itching to see these new guys where they land. Fits. I mean, we're both fantasy guys. Obviously, we have one of the best running back prospects in NFL history going through this, as well as some wide receivers. So, yeah, I mean, what's your overall feeling about this class, about everything before we jump into it and tell them?
I think the most drama in any real draft class is always centered around quarterbacks, and that's not something we had last year. Last year we had a pretty mediocre / bad quarterback class. Kind of reminded me of 2013.
Easy.
And I think this year is a complete opposite. I think you have, 4 guys that, teams are going to buy themselves into, and all 4 are great in their own ways. And it's going to be interesting, 2-3 years from now to revisit this draft class, just like we've revisited past draft classes and see, who got away with what. So definitely the most intrigue is in there. And also, after the first pick, I mean, you don't even know what the first pick is going to be at this point. So, I mean, this entire Thursday could be an absolute roller coaster. So it's very interesting. That's where all the drama is going to come from. I'm excited, man. And for once, it won't be the Eagles have their quarterback taken care of. We've figured out the Steelers have their quarterback for the future right now at the moment. So, kind of sitting back and watching these other teams kind of fight out for quarterback is going to be great, because when the quarterbacks go through, other top tier players will fall.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at. We could get into it right away, but I just want to tell the listeners how we're doing this. We're going to switch off. Me and Smook are going to switch off. I'm going to go 1. He's going to go 2. Well, yada, yada, yada. I think it came out to being I pick for the Steelers. He picks for the Eagles as well. And we'll do some trades. I mean, we both said if we see a trade is sufficient, we will say it, and then the other person has to sign off on it. So really pick 1 and 2. We could get into it, but like after that, it's all hell breaks loose. Like you said, I mean, we're both in great positions. You guys re-signed Jalen Hurts. We have Kenny Pickett. So watching teams going after new quarterbacks is always interesting, because those teams, I mean, look at what Kyler Murray did for the Cardinals before he starts doing the gaming bullshit. You see Burrow, what he did with the Bengals. Herbert, I mean, it's crazy, because I have a different take on this class than you do with the quarterbacks. I see 2 guys that are great, and then 3 guys, if they're put in the right position, what they can become. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Basically, one is a freak athlete. We don't have to say his name until we get to him. But if he goes to the right position, right place, he could be something. But if he goes to the wrong place, we could be seeing what, like I like to call Jamarcus Russell 2.0, even though Malik Willis already gave me my my win on that. So,
yeah, real quick, do you want to kind of gloss over what you want the Steelers to do?
Yeah.
I know we can kind of jump into that real fast, kind of holistically with your draft, and then talk about kind of what you want to see from it, because I know we've spoken about the Steelers and what you're looking for, especially just to surround Kenny Pickett. So just give me a quick 30-second idea of what you're looking for on Thursday to help round out the Steelers here.
So it's no surprise what we need the most. I mean, a quarterback's best friend is a left tackle, and we had a guy who is literally a train station turnstile. I mean, Kenny Pickett got 2 concussions in in 3 weeks because we couldn't block anyone. So I would love one of the tackles to fall. I mean, obviously there's rumors that says they would love to move up to get a tackle. Maybe the rumors are also a Troy Polamalu type thing where we traded up the year to get Troy Polamalu to 10, and everybody thought we were going for Larry Johnson. And it was funny because we needed a safety. So I'm not saying safety. I think tackle is 1. I honestly think D tackle is 2. I love Cam. I love Larry O. I love those guys. The depth behind them is just so weak. I would love to see maybe a grab at Jalen Carter. We've talked about, edge rushers as well, but Luca Ness is great. I would love Ness. But corner, everybody is falling in love with that Joey Porter to us thing. I wouldn't be upset. It just is like, is he good enough to be a starting corner in the NFL that goes up against Jamar Chase 2 times a year? I don't know. If we trade up and we get Gonzalez or Witherspoon, sure. But I think really my dream list is tackle first, and then at the 32nd pick, hopefully we get D tackle or corner. So
got it.
Yeah. So what about you? What about the Eagles?
I mean, I don't know if you watched, but we played a game in February in the Super Bowl, right? And I think most of the cavalry's coming back, and one of the main questions that everyone had was, how are you going to replace some of the people that left?
Exactly.
We had a lot of free agents this year that decided to take their services elsewhere and got paid, good for them. And the reason why the Eagles were able to do that is because they knew they had picks 10 and 30 in this draft. I've always said that this past year was kind of playing with house money, because going into this year, you're still going to have Jalen Hurts on a relatively cheap cap hit, and you're bringing back most of the team. All the weapons will be back intact, and all you have to do is kind of surround Hurts and the rest of the Eagles with guys who can play. And so I expect Howie to take someone that will be playing snaps. I don't want to tip my hand here when we do our draft, but I think we're going to take someone that will be playing a lot on Sunday at 10. 30 is a different story. That's going to be based off of how the rest of the draft goes. And I think this draft is a little top heavy. I don't think that there is that many impact players like it was last year in certain positions of need for the Eagles. So I expect someone more developmental in that spot. And again, I don't want to tip my hand at 30, but I don't want to tip my hand at 10 either, because I think that the Eagles can go so many different ways. I mean, it's just when you have a really talented roster, you can really just do whatever you want at that pick. And when you don't have to draft for need, it just makes it better. And I think that however Thursday looks is going to be a testament to how and what the philosophy is going to be for the 2023-2024 Eagles.
Yeah.
So.
But hey, you signed your quarterback for the future at a good deal. Nobody's questioning Jalen Hurts anymore. Nobody's questioning Nick Sirianni with his rock paper scissors shit. So we'll see what they do, and I'm excited for you guys. I mean, we've talked about it in our group chat, and I mean, I don't want to take too long because that talking about that group chat could take 5-parter. But right now, I only see one team really competing with you guys if you guys stay healthy. And with the obviously breaking news, I mean, I'm going to say it in my little sports show thing that I do, but Aaron Rodgers being traded. I mean, the 49ers, whatever they do, I mean, I feel like you and me could go play quarterback for them and they can always compete. So
yeah.
I think like you guys and them. And then like you like to say, the AFC is the Mahomes Invitational, because every quarterback that is good besides Jalen Hurts is in that. So I love it. I love it. As a Steelers fan, I love seeing top 10 quarterbacks every fucking week. So it's awesome. But anyways, you want to get this thing started?
Yeah, I'm excited, man.
All right, buddy. Let's do it. All right. Now on the clock, the Carolina Panthers. The pick is in. All accidentally hit back. Okay. With the first pick, no surprise. Everybody knows who he's going to be. It's Bryce Young. I think they've set themselves up with a great core. Everybody knows that they signed DJ Shark. They signed Adam Thielen. They've Miles Sanders, who you know very well. I think now the missing piece for that offense is a young quarterback. They have Josh McCown to coach quarterbacks. I think people are thinking too much into it with the weight and the height. I think this guy's a gamer. I think this guy has what it takes. He has the leadership. You don't go to Alabama and not have the leadership. I know we talk about Mac Jones and Tua and whatever. I think this guy is the best of the bunch. And hopefully this is the Panthers quarterback for the future. They haven't had a guy to lead them since Cam. So this is a guy who I'm very excited for. I think this is a great landing spot. Obviously, no surprise here. So
yeah, I mean, Carolina also with the new ownership group. I mean, you expected them when they were bought to really make some splashes here. Trading up to 1 definitely does it, and Bryce is that type of game changer. I mean, that's definitely my favorite quarterback in the draft. I think it's him and then everyone else, in my opinion. So it's a good spot for him. It was definitely they traded a lot, but it definitely is going to hopefully pay off. I think he's the best quarterback in the class.
100%, and I think he's going to be great with Reich as his head coach too. I think the skies are blue in Carolina. Let's just say that.
All right, so Houston's on the clock here at 2, and there's been a lot of smokescreen kind of going around after I think Houston understands and realizes that Bryce Young is going to go 1, which again puts into real thought about them winning that game in week 18 against Indy, and costing them the number 1 spot, which is just insane to think about.
Thanks, Lovie Smith.
Incredible, but I think that there's a lot of conversations about, hey, should we take a defensive player here and punt quarterback to next year? But I think that the talent of CJ Stroud is just too good to pass up. When everything's in rhythm and everything's on time, he's an unbelievable quarterback. And the more you watch him, the more you can see his style translating into the NFL. The problem here is, though, that he's playing with some of the best weapons in college football ever, right? So we'll see if he can kind of do it with some of the guys that Houston has at receiver, which actually might not even be as good. I mean, I think the Ohio State guys are probably better than anything that Houston has at the moment. But the on time, on rhythm stuff is really good. But when things sort of break down, he hasn't been as great. He kind of reminds me a lot of Jared Goff when he came out. I know that's not what people want to hear, but I mean, Goff is when everything's on time, on rhythm. If you watch Detroit, I mean, he's been really good. The only issue is that when things start to break, he doesn't have the improvisational skills as Bryce Young or Anthony Richardson or Will Levis to an extent.
Right.
So I mean, but I think that if you keep him upright, I mean, he's just a guy that can make every single throw that you'd want, and I think that's a great building block for Houston going forward. So that's who I think Houston should take at 2.
I like it. I for a minute there, I thought after that game against Georgia, he proved a lot to be the number 1 pick, even Bryce Young. After the combine, I still like Bryce Young. I was like, okay, I fell in love with some guy who did really well, and I guess a good defense. And I think you're right. I think it's all smokescreen. Like, why would you go that long without a quarterback? You know what I mean? I mean, whatever with David Mills, that's not your quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on that. I agree. And I guess this is where the fun begins, right?
Right. Yeah.
All right. I forgot to press it for you. I'm sorry.
I'll give you a heads up next time, but.
But I don't think they trade. I don't think Arizona Cardinals trade out because I think this guy, if it wasn't for the 2 quarterbacks in this draft and it wasn't the player in the position that they are, I think we're looking at one of the better defensive players in the NFL. My defensive rookie player of the year, and I'm calling my shot now. I know people are going to be like, shocker. Of course you are. I think Will Anderson is that good where you just don't trade out. And I understand that the Cardinals are talking about trading out for maybe something like for more picks, obviously to regroup, obviously D-Hop leaving, all that stuff. I just think Will Anderson, now that J.J. Watt is gone, now you have all these different pieces, Zach Allen. You need to add more firepower to that defense, especially, I mean, they're not in a hard division if you look at it. I mean, 49ers, sure, but like the Rams are regrouping, the Seahawks, they have Geno. Like, it's a winnable division if you put the pieces together, and Kyler is going to come back at one point. And I think with Will Anderson being who he is, he can be the captain of that defense, and I'm really excited to see what he can do in Arizona. I think this is a great pick for Arizona. I don't think they should trade out, and that's my stance. That's my stance right there.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the best defensive player in the draft. And, one of the things that I always kind of go back to is if you can go and be a game breaker in the SEC, you're going to be a game breaker on Sundays as well.
Exactly.
And I just think that he's probably has the highest upside out of even the quarterbacks in this draft. I mean, you can look at this guy and be like, hey, this guy's going to be, DeMarcus Ware 2.0 and just be in backfields for the next 10 years, just camping quarterback. So I definitely think that Arizona need a cornerstone, edge guy, especially with, the way they're going. And, maybe they can look at quarterback next year if they don't think Kyler can come back from this ACL. So definitely a good spot.
I love it. And now you get
the Colts. All right. So interesting. I think so. There's two quarterbacks here, and I think that it's been widely reported, and their owner is even pretty vocal about them looking for a quarterback this year. After seeing the cavalcade of quarterbacks that have come through under Ballard the last 4 years or 5 years, ever since Andrew Luck retired, they've been trying to rent a quarterback for that time, and it clearly hasn't worked. And I think that Ballard and company are going to have to hitch a wagon to one of these guys. And I know Ballard has been very reluctant on doing that to a rookie quarterback, because that usually means if the rookie quarterback isn't good, mostly your job is gone as well. But it's time for him to kind of make a name for himself. He keeps saying that he's the best. People keep saying that he's one of the best drafting GMs, but I mean, he's great at drafting guards and running backs. Congratulations. So hard to draft. It's very difficult to draft a quarterback. It's very easy to draft those other positions. So what happens? Who's going to pick? And I think that a lot of it's going to be decided by the interview process that we don't have privy and knowledge to. Honestly, this is a shot in the dark for a lot of us that do this as a hobby. And you could go one of two ways. You can go the safe-ish option in Will Levis, who's kind of pro-ready already. He's more of a play-action type quarterback.
Right.
I don't necessarily think he has the same ceiling as Anthony Richardson, which is, an understatement there. But, Will Levis can run an offense. If you run a lot of play-action, people were comping him to Ryan Tannehill. I think he's more of Carson Wentz. I mean, I saw Josh Allen, which doesn't make any sense, but I think he has a lot of Wentz in him, honestly. I mean, you don't want him to do anything other than play action or take some of those like intermediate deep shots. I mean, his accuracy isn't great, but his arm talent is one of a kind. I do think they're going to go Anthony Richardson here, and the reason is because his numbers and his raw athleticism is just so intoxicating for any offensive-minded head coach. And we're talking about a guy who came from the Philadelphia Eagles here, right? And who did he work with? It was Jalen Hurts, and Jalen Hurts is, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the league, if not the best at the time, at the specific time.
Fuck you.
Well, I think you just you look at him and he has all the traits. The problem is he ready? I don't know if he is, and I think that if they do the Anthony Richardson route, I think they need to go and grab a veteran quarterback to play in a little bit, because if they throw him into the fire.
Minshew.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely, that's the thing. They can go Minshew for a little bit until they figure that Anthony Richardson's ready, because I don't necessarily know if he's going to be ready to play in the NFL yet. He's still at an elementary, middle school level of reading defense. I mean, he showed some good stuff in Florida, but I mean, some of the tape that you watch on him is just not. He's just not there yet. But I think that the athleticism, I mean, if you can just hone it, you have you could have one of the best. You could have a Manning 2.0 there. I mean, granted, not the same type of quarterback, but someone who can be your guy for the next 10, 15 years. I mean, you might not be ready to compete yet, but maybe when Mahomes and Josh Allen and all these other quarterbacks are a little older and making a little bit more money, you have Anthony Richardson ready to go on a rookie contract. So I don't know, man. I think that's a great pick for the Colts there. So I know a lot of Colts fans would be happy with that pick at 4, especially. So
I like it because it's not the conventional pick. Everybody here obviously thinks Will Levis, and we've heard the rumors, stuff like that. I think Anthony Richardson is the guy I was talking about earlier who has ultra athleticism. It's just like you said, when I watched Florida this year, and we talked about it, you tear up the Southern Eastern Conference. I mean, you're good. You know what I mean? It's just his passes. Some of them it was like he throws it on the money, and then 3 passes after that, just all over the place. Like it just doesn't make sense. I think he just needs to go to a place, and you said it best, is like he's going to a place where I think he's going to have to hand the ball off 20 times to Jonathan Taylor anyways in the beginning. So Minshew there. I like the pick. And for a team that had Peyton and Luck and now this, I think this is now the time that they need to pounce and get going. So
and what a great interim head coach hire in Jeff Saturday, who absolutely did a masterful job of tanking.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like honestly, like an S tier job. They hired probably the most unqualified head coach in NFL history and proceeded to drop all the way down to 4. I mean, honestly, it's like the best thing, the smartest thing they've ever done. They got, an uber athletic quarterback out of that. I mean, people need to talk about that more. It's what a masterful job that he did. Well done. Anyway, moving on to 5.
Fucked it up on my fantasy season, but I don't want to get into that. But I don't know how you're going to feel about this one, because this one might be controversial in the sense that it might be a Pete Carroll pick, in the sense of like, I know what Pete Carroll likes. I feel like we know what they're about in Seattle. I'm going to go with the guy that has so much to lose if they pick him at this spot, Jalen Carter, interior lineman for from Georgia. We all know the problems that go around him, but like we talked about Will Anderson. I mean, this guy is athletic. This guy is a physical freak. This guy can play from edge to edge. It was impossible for some teams to run on him. It was impossible. Mm-hmm. And I think personally, I was thinking between him or Christian Garcia Gonzalez. We'll see where he goes. But I think Jalen Carter is the pick here. I think Seattle needs to get back to playing good defense. I mean, they were a wild card team last year. Thank you, God, for Russell Wilson, the gift that keeps on giving to them. So Jalen Carter, they take a risk here, but Pete Carroll is a coach that could probably handle him.
No, I agree. I think.
Yeah.
You say Will Anderson is the high. We were just talking about Will Anderson, but I mean, Jalen Carter's gonna be right up there. He is definitely one of the highest boom bust prospects that we have in the draft. We could be looking back at this 2 years from now and be like, how did he fall to 5? Also look at it 2 years from now and say, this dude's out of the league. So, I mean, go either way. So I love that pick.
It's Denver's pick.
Yeah, it's true.
On an ultra talented guy, has some problems. You have Pete Carroll, you have Geno. I mean, you have leaders. So that's the only reason I'm saying him going to Seattle. And surprisingly, we haven't traded anything yet, but I feel like a trade's coming up right now. So
yeah, no, I think Detroit's definitely kicking themselves at 6 here, not getting the guy that they really wanted, and Jalen Carter, who, honestly, I'm surprised that he's going at 5. I think that you could even see him at 3. I mean, we even thought that he could be top 2, top 1 guy before the quarterbacks kind of started throwing the ball around, right?
I think it was like Young, Anderson, Carter, and that was it. And nobody questioned it. Everybody was like, yep, that's it. Move on. Where does Stroud go after that? Just like that. So.
Okay, so I think at 6, I mean, the Lions, again, this is also another free pick. It's not a gift that keeps on giving like the Russell Wilson one, but they do get a pick from for in the top 6 after being pretty good story in 2022, 2023. But I think that one of their most evident positions in need here is corner. And they've been working out a couple corners. They've been bringing corners in to Detroit to see what they can get. I think Christian Gonzalez is the guy here. All the tools. He's just an athletic specimen. RAS score of 9.95 out of 10. Basically saying that this guy is a freak athlete for a corner. He was, when watching, I didn't, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched every single Christian Gonzalez snap, but from what I watched, this dude was running routes for the receivers. I mean, then again, we're talking about Pac-12 receivers. I mean, we're not talking about the best and the best, but this guy was so bored out there. He was just like basically running the routes for receivers. His ball skills aren't there yet, but I mean, this guy has all the tools and all the makings of someone that can be a shutdown corner going forward. And I think that Detroit has, kind of whiffed on a couple corner prospects in the past, but I think that you can just kind of throw Christian Gonzalez out there and have him just be the ultimate athletic specimen or athletic marvel out there at corner, which is kind of what you need now. You can't have slow corners. You can't have guys that are handsy. It's so hard to find good corners. So either teams are trading for them, in the instance of Dallas and Philly, Dallas traded for Stephon Gilmore. The Eagles a couple years ago traded for Darius Slay, also a line. Or you just use high draft capital to take one. I mean, we look around the league now, a lot of these top 10 guys are absolutely running away with, all pros and stuff. You got Sauce, you got Patrick Surtain, you got, JC Horn, you got a bunch of these. And so I think that Christian Gonzalez could definitely be one of those. He definitely has the tools to do it. And I think that's why he's going to be CB1 in this draft.
Very, very interesting. Him and Cam Sutton will be a great duo if Gonzalez lives up to the hype. You're in a division with Justin Jefferson, so
yeah,
you need to bolster as much as you can. And I like the pick. I like the pick, and I think this will have a causation at 7 because the Raiders are doing the same thing. I think the Raiders go the next best corner on their board, and that's the Devon Witherspoon from Illinois. I know we've talked about him. He's ultra versatile. Like we said, he's a hybrid guy where I think he can play inside, outside. I personally like him for the Steelers if the Steelers traded up. Like I said, Gonzalez won him too. But we can be looking back at this, like you said, the Patrick Surtain and the J.C. Horn thing, where we're two corners that are elite in the sense of either one will be great for this defense. And I think the Raiders need that in the division that they're in, of course, and the quarterbacks that they have to face. I really like this fit for them and at what he can bring to this hybrid defense, especially the new look, quote unquote, Raiders with Jimmy G. So
yeah, no, I agree. Definitely a guy I don't like him as much as Christian Gonzalez. I just think that he's just a little tiny for my liking for corner. But again, going into a Vegas side that they're going to go up against a lot of great receivers and a lot of great quarterbacks. So you're going to have someone that is a little bit more aggressive. Witherspoon is like my type of corner too, because he's a little finger waggy. He'll sit there and he'll wag fingers. He'll get up on wide receivers and kind of be a little scrappy as well. Those are my type of corners. I mean, granted, they're tiny. Give me every finger wagger there is. So I do like that pick for Vegas. That sets up interestingly for Atlanta at 8 because they are also another kind of quarterback spot. But are they? I mean, they feel like they're okay with Ritter. So I mean, there's one quarterback left, and he keeps falling. So I mean, we're gonna just keep an eye out on him. I know there's a lot of smoke today about Will Levis being top 1 pick, and
it's like 4-1 now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's dropped significantly, but I don't think that it's going to be now. I think that Atlanta is going to look and they see Tyree Wilson on the board. They see an edge rusher that has been, when healthy, incredibly disruptive. Again, I've mentioned this before. Do you want an edge rusher from the Big 12, from Texas Tech? I don't know, but when he was out there, he was absolutely unbelievable. Also, an athletic marvel. He is going to be someone that Atlanta is going to look for to be a cornerstone. Kind of reminds me of like, you know what he reminds me of? Trayvon Walker a little bit. Again, he's not completely there as a pass rusher, rushing like in terms of his run defense, he's there. I think that all Atlanta's going to try to do right now, and they've been doing it all year quietly, all off season. Mass talent. I mean, they added Akuda, they added a couple other, prize free agents. They're just going to keep adding to that, and then, I think they're still in the rebuilding phase and see what they have in Ritter and kind of go from there. But getting a guy like Tyree Wilson at 8 is definitely a good spot. So that's what I have at 8. I think it's safe. Again, it's granted, nothing's really safe. We don't know what any of these players are going to be, right? But I think that this guy could definitely be a player for 5 to 7 years for Atlanta that can rush off the edge at a high rate. So that's where I'm going to go with that.
You and me have talked about it. This is a Bijan Robinson landing spot if you really wanted to do it. But I think going edge rusher, bolstering that defense is great. And Tyrese Wilson is great. He was actually the guy I had. Well, now I got to switch it up a little bit. But he's the guy I had at 10 for you if you really wanted him. But I think
I would have loved him at 10, honestly. Like if he fell at 10, it would have just been. I think the Eagles put in that pick in 5 seconds, but yeah.
But for number 9, it's Chicago. They traded back. They were the number 1 pick. They have extra picks. Obviously, we talked about it. And let's be honest, their focus is Justin Fields. They have DJ Moore now. They fixed their wide receiving core, who I think DJ Moore is a top 10 wide receiver. Don't quote me. Actually, quote me. But I think here you got to give him his hog molly, his guy who's going to be next to him. And I think you go down the street and pick up Peter. I'm going to try to say his name correctly. Skarsky. Mm-hmm. I mean, at this point, we know what Peter brings. I mean, we've talked about. I feel like this guy has been talked about for 2 years now. I think last year we've talked about him. This year we're talking about him. It'd be a disservice if he wasn't the first tackle off the board. I know people like Johnson, people like Green, people like Wright. I think Peter is definitely the guy that is a hometown kid. He's going to protect Justin Fields' backside for 10, 12, 13 years. I really like this. This is the kind of like when you guys picked Lane Johnson in hopes for your quarterback, but like this now it's good. I like Peter here. It just makes too much sense. I don't know why. It just makes too much sense.
Yep, I'm with you. I think he projects more as a guard, and I think that he'll probably kick inside. A lot of people thought the same with Rashawn Slater. So I mean, and he's one of the most elite shutdown tackles that we have. So definitely can go different positions, different ways with him. His versatility is going to be something to look at when Chicago takes him. And I think that he's a hometown kid. So I mean, always definitely someone that you can build around, someone that would want to stay, and someone that I think has a bright future in the NFL. So again, we're getting to the point where we're starting to run out of guys, right? We're starting to run out of guys that at 10 I would put the yeah.
Like it's crazy.
We're starting to run out of guys. And so we still have Will Levis. I mean, we're talking about the Eagles pick at 10, and I think that.
Go ahead, go crazy, Mike.
So with Howie, right? He generally either trades up or trades down. Never usually stays where he is, and I think the way the draft kind of played out, we have, the top 2 corners are off the board. That's a position of need right there. Jalen Carter's off the board. That's a guy that if he was available at 7 or 8, I think that the Eagles trade their 2nd round pick, move up, and go get Jalen Carter to kind of be the Fletcher Cox heir apparent. There's still a quarterback on the board, so teams are probably calling the Eagles to trade up. If I'm Tampa, I'm at 19. Do I trade 19 and a 2024 1 to move up and get Will Levis over Tennessee? I don't know. If I'm the Eagles, am I looking at this and saying, hey, there's a guy in Bijan Robinson that may not be available at 19 that we can get right now, and truth be damned, Like, this guy can change the offense. And, that's what I'm going to do. You know what? Fuck it. Fuck it.
I love it.
At the 10th pick in the NFL mock draft, the Eagles are going to select Bijan Robinson out of Texas.
Yes. Good job. Good job.
I hate this. I hate it. I hate it, but I love it at the same time.
Dude,
There was a clip of him. Yeah, there was a clip of him running around out of the slot. And I was like, all right, I'm in. This guy turned to safety and then basically made just like an extension catch, like basically any receiver. I'm like, okay, this guy is insane. The talent disparity now from this pick to any other player, any other skill guy that is left in the draft it's insane. I don't necessarily know how you can go in and basically not look at him as a game changer. I understand that this is a short-term pick, right? I get it. I understand. Like, this guy in 5 years is someone that you're going to tell me and you're going to be like, do you want to pay Bijan Robinson, top tier RB money? I'm going to say absolutely not. But the Eagles are fighting for a chance to win a fucking Super Bowl, right? And it's not easy. It's not easy. You need luck, but you also need a bunch of guys that can play football. And I'm not convinced that Rashad Penny and all these other guys that are in the running back room can play. I mean, you saw it. It was evident in the Super Bowl. Like, Miles Sanders was awful. I've been saying this all year. I've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 years. Miles Sanders was not a good running back. He had a great year, but he was not a good running back. I just think his instincts, his vision, I'm talking about Bijan now, it's just unbelievable. Also, Bijan Robinson played in a spread RPO offense. What do the Eagles like doing? What do we run out of? We run out of spread. This is what we do. This is like, he's tailor-made for this offense. Bijan at 10. Fucking book it. I hate the pick, but
listen, you can book it. You said it perfectly. You guys are going for a Super Bowl. You guys need to do something that it needs to be now. And I think whatever this bullshit Derrick Henry news is, it's not happening. All right, let's just end that right now. Bijan is what you need. I think Bijan with Jalen, you have 5 years. Now, you have 5 years with that core. You have that core now. And Devontae Smith, we'll get to him when you get the contract. But those 4 together, let's fucking ride, man. Welcome.
If you're gonna run empty, right? Or if you're gonna run out of these RPO, these spread RPOs, and it's a light box, and you have Jalen Hurts and Bijan Robinson in the backfield, what are you gonna do? Because now you have to play dime, you have to play nickel, right? Because you probably have to guard. You have 2 receivers on the outside. You have Dallas Goedert, and you have Jalen Hurts. What are you gonna do? So I mean, I just think that the options are so just endless. Adding Bijan, so. That's it. That 10, lock it in. I hope that he's there at 10. I don't even know. Maybe Atlanta takes him at 8, but that's my guy. We're going Bijan at 10.
Let's go. 49ers with CMC. They did it. You guys can do it too. Let's fucking ride. Now at 11, this one's for you, Libba. I know you want this because this is the only pick you ever wanted. You're going to Paris, baby. We're going to Paris. You hype me up now. I'm hyped. Paris Johnson Jr. to the Tennessee Titans. Listen, if you watched any Tennessee Titans game, it was a free-for-all on that quarterback. It was a free-for-all on Derrick Henry. It was a free-for-all for anybody who played them. They need a top-tier lineman. And to fix the offensive line, you go with the guy where the place that people eat corn, people eat everything in sight, and that's Ohio. And Paris Johnson from Ohio State is one of the better linemen. Obviously, I said Peter, but Peter made sense for Chicago. I think Paris made a lot of sense for Tennessee. This is one of the guys that I think if the Steelers traded up, lineman-wise, this is who they were going to go get. He is just a physical freak. I don't know if you saw his lineman drills at his pro day. It was like he was like skating. He can move so fast. He has great splits. I am enamored by this dude, and I think Tennessee will get the lineman that they needed for the future, and whoever their quarterback of the future is has a guy who will protect him for sure. So,
no, I agree. I think that there's one of 2 ways that you can go if you're the Titans. And I know they have a new GM And I was telling our esteemed Titans friend here, and we were talking about quarterbacks, and I was like, you can't really, a quarterback can only be, successful if he has the, the structure and the foundation around him. And the Titans just don't have that at the moment. Their offensive line is a mess. So I just think that if they were to go quarterback, it would just be an absolute disaster. And I think the GM understands that. So I think that getting a bookend, cornerstone tackle is something good now. And then maybe, later on in this draft or next year, they can go out and get a grab quarterback. But Ryan Tannehill can still play. So moving on. So 12. Houston's up at 12. I think we need to stop with this Will Levis thing. I think that all these teams that are looking at him and saying, hey, this guy's a top 5-6 talent. Last year he would have been a top 2 pick, right? We need to go after him. And I think the Bucs are sitting there and just like, hey, we have an opportunity to move up. And I think that, and then this is where the phone rings for Houston, and they pick up. Tampa's on the phone. Tampa goes, hey, we'll give you 19 and our 2024 1 for 12.
I agree.
There you go. So Tampa moves up to 12, and they get their guy. They get Will Levis. I think that they look around in their room and you just don't see an answer. Baker Mayfield is a 1-year bridge guy. He could even be, not out of a job, but he could definitely be a backup for Will Levis if Will Levis shows up in camp. I think that I honestly think that they're still good, and they this is the opposite point of what I was saying about the foundation. I think the foundation in Tampa is pretty sound. They just need a quarterback. And I think that Will Levis, for all of the crap that he's been getting, I think the hate's gone too far. I think for us especially, I personally don't think he falls to 12. I think that some other team snaps him up before this, but if Tampa's sitting there and they can move up from 19 and get a cornerstone franchise quarterback for just one first-round pick, I think they do it. And I think Will Levis at 12 is, the hate's gone too far, guys. I understand that, he's Ryan Tannehill or Carson Wentz, but come on, man, he's gone too far.
Yeah, I think you're right. I actually was thinking you were going to do that right now at 12, because once Houston has C.J. Stroud, all they need to do is get collateral. If C.J. Stroud is the guy, why not trade 12 to somebody like the Bucs, who, I always love looking at the division and seeing what they're trying to do. And I think the Bucs, if Will Levis is good, they'll be right back at the top of that division. So, good pick.
It's a weak division. He can play right away. He's probably, aside from Bryce Young and maybe him and CJ Stroud are both at the same level of readiness for the NFL.
Exactly.
So you're getting a guy that can play right away. And we don't know. We don't know what he's going to be like in the NFL, but he did have some good throws on tape. And again, he played on a very lousy Kentucky team. It's not like he played on some elite team like Alabama. Alabama wasn't great that last year, but Ohio State, great example. Team that was incredible. And obviously, CJ Stroud's going to show out on a team with a bunch of NFL talent. But anyway, you're up with Green Bay at 13.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
I think it's time for them to say fuck you, the biggest fuck you to Aaron Rodgers. They didn't draft a wide receiver or a tight end since he's been there, and I think they draft finally a wide receiver at 13 to match with Watson. I think they take I don't want to say his name. I don't want to fuck up his name. But
Jackson Smith-Njigba?
There you go, baby.
Yeah.
Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I said everybody makes a lot, and we talked about C.J. Stroud being connected to all these great wide receivers. We saw it with Olave. We saw it now with Njigba. We're going to see it next year with, apparently people were talking about a top 5 pick in Marvin Harrison Jr. But each one seems like they're better than the other. So like when Wilson and Olave got picked, people were like, oh, they're better than the guys before them. People are saying the same thing about Smith. People are going to say the same thing about Harrison. I think Smith is a great talent. I think he's big. He's lengthy. He's the best wide receiver in this draft by far. And I think it's like how you said with Bryce Young. It's Smith and then everyone else. I think it's Smith and then everybody else. And what better way to get your quarterback of the future started than matching him up with Watson, him. You have Aaron Jones back. You have A.J. Dillon. I think that offense continues to grow. And I think if Jordan Love is somebody that they believe in, and we see a next year quarterback for Packerville, Njigba is going to be his Devontae Adams. I think his comp is Devontae Adams. I think he can move. He has a great route runner. He's smooth out of his breaks. He's good. He is good. And him against we had Witherspoon go to who do we have go to the Lions?
So we had Christian Gonzalez go to the Lions.
Him against Smith is gonna be
it's gonna be a fun one. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba reminds me a lot of Amon-Ra. Like Amon-Ra is, I think they're pretty much very similar skill set wise. And he's gonna be Jordan Love's best friend. And if he ends up in Green Bay, that's a guy that I will be looking at in fantasy in pretty much every single league. So, yeah. Yep. So at 14, the Patriots are kind of in this San Antonio Spursian, they're in this like mediocrity treadmill here, where they're not good enough to be a contender, but they're also not bad enough to bottom out. But I think at this spot they have an opportunity to grab another cornerstone tackle, and I think that's kind of been the theme of this. And then we're starting to get to the end of the guys that I believe can truly be impact players right away. And Broderick Jones is the guy I think for Bill Belichick in New England. The guy who was he's only been a starter for a year and a half for Georgia, but again, we've seen left tackles in Georgia kind of be guys that have success in the NFL. Look at Isaiah Wynn, Andrew Thomas. Both of them are, really good players in the NFL, and I think that Broderick Jones is just the heir apparent to that. And the one thing that he brings is violence and a mean streak, and I think that's something that Bill Belichick is going to enjoy having him on that team. I'm going to keep it. We'll keep it. Brief. I know we're starting to. Yeah. The first 14 picks are kind of. It's gonna after the Steelers pick here in a little bit. I think we can give this up. But Broderick Jones is that guy. I can speak about him for about 20 minutes too. So we can speak about a lot of these guys for a long time. So.
Even at 15. When you look at the Jets, they made the trade. So who they want there? I think they get more offensive weapons. I think they go Dalton Kincaid. I think that's a great pick for them. They're not building a roster just for Aaron Rodgers. I think they're also building a roster for whoever comes after Aaron Rodgers. So I think Kincaid is better than Mike Myers, and I love Michael Myers. I'm a Notre Dame fan, but Kincaid is that guy, and I think this is best available now. I think you could go with Lucas Van Ness, you could go with any of those guys, but I think at this pick, you go with Kincaid, and you continue to grow, and you continue to go build that offense.
All right, so the Commanders are up next, and I think they can go many, many different ways. I know a couple of them are interested in grabbing a corner, maybe grabbing another offensive lineman. Honestly, I just look at the way that the draft is kind of shaken out, and there's still one guy that I see that should have been a top 10 pick, and we've talked about this guy a lot. I think I just have a soft spot for this team. I think you know what I'm going to talk about. Lucas Van Ness.
I knew.
Every time I watch Lucas Van Ness, I'm just in awe of how just much bigger he was than anyone that he lined up against. Granted, he played against. I'm talking about non-Ohio State players, but he was definitely someone that if you watch, you definitely know where he is. I actually went to the Iowa-Maryland game a couple years ago, and he was still, I want to say, not playing maybe like 20-25% of snaps, and that's something that they do a lot in Iowa, by the way. Just letting you know. If you don't know who he is, it's probably because you don't watch Iowa and you're not a masochist. I don't know why, but I ended up watching a lot of Iowa last year. I don't know why, but they do a lot. They do rotate a lot, and when he's on the field, like he definitely makes his presence felt. And I think that this is Chase Young insurance, but also someone that can develop into being just an absolute game-breaking D end. He has the size and the athleticism to do so. The question is whether or not he's played enough football in order to refine some of these skill moves, because he's still kind of lacking on that end. But I think when you have the height, weight, strength, speed that Lucas Van Ness has, he just kind of is too hard to pass up at 16. So that's where I'm going. I know that that's someone that the Steelers would have wanted at 17. So
no, I think at 17, if Lucas Van Ness was there was going to be 3 guys. Now we're down to 2. No, it's Joey Porter Jr., and the other guy. But the other guy is who I'm picking. We talked about it. It's Kenny Pickett time. You don't fuck around. Like, if you think Kenny Pickett's a guy, you get him everything you need. We wanted to get Allen Robinson, so we didn't have to pick a wide receiver here. We built the defense and the line the way that we wanted a little bit. We got 2 of your old boys, so it's our position. So now it's time to mention a tackle that I think is good, Darnell Wright from Tennessee. Guy 6'5", 333 pounds. He is exactly what Mike Tomlin wanted. He is exactly what Mike Tomlin needs. We haven't had a good tackle since, God, I couldn't tell you, since Max Stark. Like, Jesus Christ, like it's been a long time. I mean, Villanueva, whatever, fuck him. But I think Wright is going to be the guy that protects Kenny Pickett's backside for a while. I really like how he is just an edge blocker. And we're going against Myles Garrett. We're going against the Bengals. We're going against the Ravens. You have to have protection for Kenny Pickett. If you want to compete with these top 10 quarterbacks in the Mahomes Invitational, you need to get in there, and we need to get a tackle. So that's my pick.
Hopefully, all right. I do like him. I think that he's definitely someone that I honestly think people have been saying that he's like the best tackle in the draft. And again, we're starting to get to the end of it. And that's one of the guys that you can plug and play in there and just be just elite, right? So yeah, and we're starting to get to the point where teams are going to reach, and I think the Lions are in a spot now where do they trade back? They're kind of stuck here, because it's just like, well, they could have used Lucas Van Ness, right? Him and Hutchinson for the next 10 years would be absolute game breakers. They could have used Jackson Smith and Jigba. I know that Jameson Williams is suspended. He has as many catches as suspensions now, so which is a very interesting stat. But so they went and they took Christian Gonzalez to 6, kind of addressing the key need here. Really, many ways that they can go about this. Do they want to go receiver? Do they want to go Jordan Addison? Now that Jameson Williams is suspended. But I think that they do when they start to go BPA here. And they go Nolan Smith.
I like
Georgia.
I love
a guy, again, that if the Eagles took Nolan Smith at 10, I'd be okay with it. I look at him the same way as I look at a lot of the guys from Georgia in the past. Like, if he can play for Georgia, man, he's probably going to be a good player, right? So, yeah, he's a great bet. Again, he's just one of these guys that has mostly everything that you're looking for in an edge guy. But I think at the end of the day, does he have enough moves in his arsenal to really kick it as a D end? He definitely can play also a little bit of linebacker too, if you need him to, since he's a little smaller. So we'll see. I think that, again, having Nolan Smith and Christian Gonzalez on that defense. Remember, that defense was awful last year. And they're gonna have more picks to boot. I think that they're gonna try to reboot that defense here, and they really make a play at being one of the best teams in the NFC, which isn't hard to do. But I was saying, I think that they can win maybe 11, 12 games if they really do get the right pieces on that side. So yeah.
All right, Nolan Smith is good, and you're going against like quarterbacks that stand in the pocket, so you get a guy to rush him. It'd be great. So this is the trade pick that you had. This is now Houston instead of the Bucs. Many different ways you can go here. I think you either build the defense or you build that offensive line. And I think you go offensive line. I think you start building now. You start doing what you need to do for him and Pierce. because Bijan's off the board. People had them here. You look at the Chargers coming up, the Ravens. I think you go Osiris Torrance from Florida. I think the guy is you guys need to rebuild this offensive line. There's no question. I mean, you have Wharfs, you have all these different pieces, but you need to build inside and outside, inside the trenches with the offensive guard. He's good, quick feet. I mean, he had to have some sort of awareness of quarterbacks running around because he played with Anthony Richardson all those years. So I like this pick for them in the sense of like, let's see what they can do because let's not forget, like you said with Slater, when Chargers had Herbert, that's what they did, and Jets did the same thing with Zach Wilson. So let's rock and roll. This is your time. This is your time, Houston. Win that division.
I mean, I think 6 wins can win that division. So this is so it's at 20. We just talked about the Lions team that had 2 picks, and now we're going to Seattle, another team that is on to their actual pick here. And they took Jalen Carter at 5. We had them take Jalen Carter at 5. I think that if Jalen Carter wasn't available or they wanted to go another direction, they would probably take a disruptive corner. Taking a guy that's a finger wagger like Devin Witherspoon or someone that has the athleticism of Christian Gonzalez. And I think that's where they go. I think they go corner here at 20, since they didn't go that 6 or 5, sorry. And really it's between 2 guys, between Deonte Banks and Joey Porter Jr. And I think that with Tariq Woolen, being that big athletic corner, I think you would want someone that's kind of also the same build. And I think Joey Porter Jr. is that guy.
There you go.
I think they've done this before, right? I can't remember, but I think they had a guy named Richard Sherman and another corner there, that's also Brandon Browner. That was also, a little bit of a big guy as well. I think that they can kind of recreate that here with Joey Porter Jr. and Tariq Woolen. So that's the guy. And I think him falling to 20 is just a gift for Seattle. So
I like it because it's time for me to hit a trade button. Can I hit the trade button?
Oh, yeah.
So the Chargers trade out for none other than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The Steelers are trading up to 21 from 32.
32. They give the 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd round next year.
Wow. I'm interested to see what you're thinking here. So you're saying 21 for
32.
Yeah.
3rd and a 6th this year, and a 2nd next year.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I think that the Chargers are going to look at the board and say, hey, like we wanted either an offensive lineman who I think we can get at 32, or we wanted, Bijan or some of these other game breakers. So yeah, I think trading back for them is smart.
Yeah, I think. It was going to be my pick for them was going to be one of those guys, and Michael Myers was in there too. But I think what really would just let's turn it up on them is because it's pick right before the Ravens. I do that because of that. I just think now that we saw this corner drop, I think they go Banks. I think they go Deonte Banks. I think they trade up to get him. I think another biggest need, I told you, corner was a big need. If they get Wright and Banks, I think that is the ultimate win. You don't wait until you get Ringo. You don't wait to get those guys. You wanted Banks, feel like a Maryland guy. Obviously, we know Mike Tomlin's connections to Maryland. So let's rock and roll. Let's get crazy with it.
As I was saying, I think Joey Porter and Deonte Banks are both. If you look at this, the way it's broken, it's come down. Getting one of those 2 this late is definitely elite. So I think that the Ravens, just looking at the Steelers right above them, is have 2 picks. It's gonna make them make their fans a little upset, right? It's like, God damn, we should have traded up. But I think with the Ravens here at 22, I know they picked up OBJ. I know they still have Rashad Bateman. I truly believe that Lamar Jackson's going to come back. I just don't see a market for him. I think that he plays out this. he's kind of like Kirk Cousins in a way, where I think that he's just going to keep playing on these franchise tags.
Yeah.
And I think that what you want, and something that the Ravens have kind of missed, is a downfield threat. And I think that Quentin Johnston can provide that. He's the receiver out of TCU. I personally do not trust any Big 12 receiver, especially from TCU, as you probably know.
I know.
But I think that, he has track speed, and I think that with Lamar, you need someone that can actually move. As much as I love Rashad Bateman, I mean, they just used him incorrectly. He's not a speed guy. He's your slant god. He's your Michael Thomas, right? And I just don't know if you can trust OBJ. And if you have Johnston, OBJ, and Rashad Bateman with Mark Andrews, I think that Lamar, in a better offense, it's not Greg Roman, they're going to be able to definitely get a lot of stuff done. And remember, TCU kind of ran an RPO college-y, gimmicky offense, and was able to do really well with it. And I think Lamar, you can have kind of the same success there with Quentin Johnston. You can have the same success with it. So, we'll see. I think that after Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think every receiver afterwards is kind of okay. But I think that he's definitely the best one out of the ones, and I think he fits what Baltimore wants to do. So
yeah, I think Baltimore needs to do what they need to do to keep Lamar. I mean, OBJ. I mean, you pair him with Johnson. It's two big wide receivers. But
something they haven't had in a long time, or ever, really.
I mean, a lot I could tell you is that Antoine Bolden.
That was so old at that point. So
who cares? I mean, come on. It's the gift that keeps on giving for the Steelers. Ravens can't do shit with wide receivers.
All right, so Vikings are up at 23.
I think now we see a back-to-back pick. I think Zay Flowers goes here. You go do Zay Flowers, you do Justin Jefferson, you pair him up. No more Adam Thielen. You don't want to get Justin Jefferson all by himself. I mean, we know what people are talking about is Zay Flowers. People over here calling him an explosive playmaker, guy who can just run a fade route and outrun everyone. I really thought about keeping him for the Giants, but at 25 because that's my next pick. But I think him with Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, whatever they want to do passing wise, this fits perfectly because I don't see Osborne being that number 2. Let's be honest. So
yeah. So for the Jaguars, again, we're talking about a team that I think they honestly have everything in place, and they're just needing a couple positions and a couple guys in key positions. And I think this is one that you may not meet my my RAS score, my mock draftable spider chart guy, but Brian Branch is such an instinctual, incredible football player when you watch him. Again, someone that the Eagles at 30, if Brian Branch is available, I think he has to be the pick. And I think this guy is someone that you can just kind of drop in and he can play wherever. You can play him at slot corner. You can play him at either safety spot. And it's just, he has the versatility that you would want in a guy that came out of Alabama, right? But I think that he's someone that, yeah, sure, he's not fast, he's not big, but he can provide, he can solidify the back end of that defense, which was not very good towards the end of that year. So Jacksonville is definitely looked to upgrade that, and I think that Brian Branch just provides you immediate snaps, right? That's all you need. We're getting to the late first round. That's what you want right now, especially if you're Jacksonville guy. He might not have the highest upside, but a lot of people that watch him. I haven't watched much of him, and I've seen a bunch of highlights from him, just saying, hey, go look at this, go look at that. And I think that the plays that I've watched where he's identified jet sweeps before they happen, identifying route combinations before they happen, guarding slot receivers, all that stuff. That's going to be very impactful for Jacksonville. So that's my pick at 24.
I like it. I really do think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Number 25. Like I said, I was going to pick Zay Flowers there, but I think now that Danny Dimes has his contract, I think this is where my boy Michael Myers comes in. He I think now we see 2 tight ends in the first round. I think it's a great draft for tight ends, at least these top 2. People called him the next great tight end to come out of college, so I'm with it. Let's get Danny Dimes, another explosive weapon, and see what they can do. Talk about a real darling of a season. So Daboll, offensive genius. Let's just rock and roll. I like this pick. He would be on my fantasy team, obviously as a backup because we know who my tight end is in that scenario. So
do I have to draft for Dallas?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, I gotta do it for Dallas. I gotta do it for the Bengals. So.
No, I have to do the Bengals. I have 26-28. Yeah. You get the Bills. It's fine.
Oh, I got the Bills. Yeah, Bills are gonna be shocker. So let's try.
I try not to think about this team too much.
Just say a name, and then we can move on.
You say a name and move on. I do want to actually think about this for a second because, what would I be the most scared of in a Dallas offense? And I think that's a tight end. And I mean, thankfully Mayer and Kincaid are off the board, but there's one guy. This is a very deep tight end class also. There's a lot of tight ends that could be effective and would be elite, could be elite players in the later rounds. This is one of those situations. Like you can definitely find tight ends later. My guy Darnell Washington. We're gonna go with him. Athletic specimen, right? I hope that Dallas crashes and burns and he leaves after 3 or 4 years. But I think that what's funny is that he wasn't even the best tight end at Georgia. So I mean, but when he played, he was just so goddamn good. Yeah. So we'll see. I think that's definitely a guy I think that they're going to look at trying to get one of the other tight ends first, and if not, I think Darnell Washington's a good spot for Dallas there.
I like it. This pick is just hinging on what they do because there's a lot of rumors about DeAndre Hopkins, but and they're going to pick Jordan Addison. I think this is where his slide ends. I think he pairs up with Stephon Diggs. He pairs up with Gabe Davis. We all know what Gabe Davis brought zilch after his supposedly breakout performance against the Chiefs. So they go after a guy that people say could get open. People like him. People had conversations of him being better than Johnson. But I like this landing spot. I think they get more firepower for Josh Allen. And being one of the 2 teams that has a chance at beating Mahomes, you need to score. So Jordan Addison brings that ability. He's a silky smooth catcher. So I'm with that. So
yeah, now we're getting to the teams that are like actually good. Now we're talking about after Dallas.
Yeah,
they're not it. They're a safety away. They're not it, but I think that now teams are going to start taking shots, and I think there's a reason as to why Miles Murphy is still on the board. I think that he's a really good edge rusher, but it's every time you watch him, it's just I don't know, man. Sometimes he just kind of takes plays off. He's just he's just I watch him and I'm just like he just looks like just a guy sometimes, and with his size and whatever, he should definitely just be better, right? He's one of the most athletic guys, but he's just like every time I watch him, it's the inconsistency, is just not there. I just don't think he has that killer instinct. But I think that at pick 28, take a chance at the talent. We'll see what we got. So I think Miles Murphy at 28 just makes a lot of sense.
I hope he busts. We're getting into the rounds where now it could be anybody, but the Saints, this is the pick that they got from San Fran's, from Miami's to Denver's to
this is the Sean Payton pick, right?
It's Sean Payton. So we all know who Cam Jordan is. I thought about taking Casey, the guy from Pittsburgh here, but I'm going to go with I'm going to go with the unconventional pick. I think I'm going to go Will McDonald. I think rusher. I think we talked about the way we drafted. They're going to have 2 rookie quarterbacks in their division. They'll have Bryce and they have Levis. And then who's left? Falcons would have Ritter. So they go after some guy who can rush the passer. And with Cam Jordan, with that defense, they keep going. So Will McDonald, you are a New Orleans Saints. Enjoy the occasion.
Okay, so the Eagles are back on the clock at 30, and let's go. So we got Bijan Robinson at 10, right?
Yep.
And I think I mentioned at the top of this podcast that at 10, I think we're going to go with someone that's going to be very, very, very effective early on. I think at 30, it's more so, can we just get a guy that we can develop? And this is a developmental pick. Not only is it that, I think this guy is one of the more underrated corners in the draft. I honestly have this guy with maybe like a top 14, 15 grade. Honestly, a guy that at 10 I would be more than okay taking. It's Keely Ringo. Keely
Oh,
Ringo. And this is just a me pick, honestly. I think that
this is your pick.
this is like a lot of Eagles fans can't stand Keely Ringo. But every time, I mean, yeah, he's just unbelievably inconsistent. He got absolutely rinsed by Marvin Harrison Jr. He got destroyed. But he also has tape against Quentin Johnson where he's locked that ass up. I just think that he definitely just needs a little bit more time to develop. He's also just like he started, I think, every single game for Georgia since he's been in the league. Like, this is a guy that he played for the best team in the league, the best team in college, and started. Like, come on, man. Like, he's a guy that you can rely on. I think that at best he comps to like a Trayvon Diggs type, with more speed, which is kind of crazy to think about. Problem is that he takes a little bit, he takes too many gambles, and sometimes he doesn't have the mental fortitude to kind of stay in plays. He also gives up a lot of bad penalties, but man, I trust what I see with him when I watch him play. And this is a guy that goes up against SEC talent every single week, and he's shown that he can play against them. So I think that I would rather have him than Deonte Banks. I'd rather have him than Joey Porter. I'd rather have him than Devin Witherspoon. Let's be real. Ooh. Yeah, I think that this guy can play. So at 30, that's my guy. I think that he doesn't have to. He doesn't probably have to play right away, but maybe in the next 2 years. That's my guy, Keely. Come through.
I like it. Put it through. And our last pick in the first round, technically, I'm going Keon White, Ringo's teammate. I think the combination of inside outside on the line is something that the Kansas City Chiefs need. They don't need anything, but this is something that they really want to add is defense. I could have gone 20 different ways of how we drafted this draft in this last pick, but I think White is somebody that they can't pass up. A senior who played on that stellar defense, who brings that firepower. And let's not sugarcoat it. Spagnuolo loves to rush the passer, and this guy outside if he needs to. So White is their guy. He's going to be versatile, and that is the first round.
You want to list off the first round?
Yeah. So from number 1, we had Bryce Young. Or did you want me to name the teams too?
Let's go down. Let's just recap what we just did.
Okay. So at number 1 for I said Chicago. At 1, Carolina is Bryce Young. At number 2 for Houston, we have C.J. Stroud. At number 3 for Arizona, we have Will Anderson. At number 4, Anthony Richardson for those Indianapolis Colts. Let's see here. Number 5, we have Seattle picking Jalen Carter. Number 6, the Lions picking Christian Gonzalez. I almost fucked it up. At number 7, Devontae Witherspoon for the Raiders. Viva Las Vegas. At number 8, Tyron Wilson. And number 9, we have Peter Skoronski. I'm gonna get his name.
More just listening to you here than hear you pronounce the names, honestly. So
I figured as much. And number 10, my favorite pick in this whole thing, Philadelphia Eagles select Bijan Robinson.
Let's go.
At number 11 for the Tennessee Titans, they pick Paris Johnson Jr. We have the trade with the number 12 pick. The Bucs select Will Levis. Number 13, we have I fucked up. Number 3, we have 13, the Green Bay Packers, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Number 14, for the Patriots, we have it's Brock Johnson, right? It's just Brock Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that so hard for me to say?
Broderick. Yeah.
Broderick Johnson. And number 15, the New York Jets select Dalton Kincaid. Number 16, the Washington Commanders select Lucas Van Ness. Number 17, my Pittsburgh Steelers select Darnell Wright. And number 18, with his glory, the Detroit Lions select Nolan Smith. Houston, this is the trade that you had with the Bucks, select Osiris Torrance. Did I say that right? Hope so.
Pause right there. Let's think about that. I mean, CJ Stroud with Osiris Torrance in your first round, and you pick up a first next year. It's pretty good. It's pretty haul for you.
I think that's a great pick. And then you get number 20, a guy that slid pretty far, in my opinion, Joey Porter Jr. to Seattle. They get the Legion of Boom, kind of get back with Quinn. This is my trade. I said the Pittsburgh Steelers would trade with the Chargers. They get rid of that 32nd pick, and they pick Deonte Banks from Maryland. Number 22, we see the Ravens select Quentin Johnson. Number 23, we see the Vikings select Zay Flowers. Number 24, Jacksonville select Brian Branch. Number 25, we see New York, Michael Myers. Number 26, your favorite pick, the Cowboys select Darnell Washington. 27, we see Jordan Addison to the Bills. 28, Miles Murphy to the Bengals. Yep, sorry, I got tongue tied. 29, we see William McDonald to the Saints. Your favorite pick, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Keely Ringo. Keely Ringo. Let's go.
Keely Ringo. And number 31, the Super Bowl champions select Keon White. I think that's a good draft. I think we went light on the trading. I think there will be more trades, obviously, if the drafts happen this. But I think overall, we made Houston better. I think Bucks get the quarterback of the future. I think you guys bolster the positions you guys lost. Me personally, I would love to see Banks and Wright in Steeler uniforms. I don't see a problem with this. I think we drafted pretty well. I think we just made one of the better matchups for years to come in Gonzalez against Nick Jidba, by the way, too. So I think that's great.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm happy, right? You get a corner for the future, and you get a guy that can play right away.
Yeah.
And again, I said let's get a guy that can play, and let's get a guy that we can develop. And I think that's kind of how the board played itself. So yeah. Quickly, now we're getting into day 2, day 3 guys. Is what are you looking for now that you got Deonte Banks? Say this is how it goes. It's definitely not going to be how it goes. But say you got Wright, you got Banks. What are you looking for now? Second, third round.
Now it's bolster the D tackle and bolster the edge rush. Because once TJ went out, we noticed that there was a big drop off in pressure. So you have guys like the guy down the street in Kalijah Kancey.
Kalijah Kancey, yeah.
Yeah.
Guy who thought I'd go in the first round. I thought that he's pretty good. He definitely killed it in the combine. So
everybody's great. I mean, we traded 32, so he probably won't be there. I'm looking more of. Brian Brees is going to be gone, but like I said, we need tackle, D tackle, and edge rusher at this point because now we bolster what we think is going to be a good corner and what we think is going to be the tackle of the future. You got to bolster the defense in the sense of depth. So
yeah.
What about you? Now you have your running back of the future.
Yeah. Woo! I think that. So I am a big proponent on all things Iowa for some reason. I think that you address the defensive line. I think you're able to get folks that want to play for Super Bowl contender into the building. We saw it last year. We brought Sue in. And I think that they can do that again this year, but it might have to be in different positions. So I think going in the trenches, Derek Hall out of Auburn, that guy. Keanu Benton is a space eater, is a defensive tackle. Zach Harrison out of Ohio State. Those are kind of guys that I like in that range in the second round. And then when I went back to when I'm talking about Iowa, there's two guys that I want to highlight. Jack Campbell, who's a middle linebacker in Iowa, who every time I watch him play, man, I'm more and more impressed with his tackling ability and his ability to actually take good angles to the ball. It reminds me a lot of Malcolm Rodriguez last year, who I loved. If you remember, go listen to last year's. Malcolm Rodriguez is my guy, and this guy is just like he's tiny, but he makes tackles. He takes great angles to the ball, and I think that Jack Campbell, Handsome Jack, is a guy that I think a lot of teams are going to look into as a second round guy, someone they can throw in there at middle linebacker. And my guy in the third round is Sam Laporta, like another Iowa guy, another Iowa tight end. It reminds me a lot of George Kittle. That's all I'm going to say.
That's it. Game over. So
George Kittle.
I think Thursday is going to be electric. I wanted to put Campbell in the first round somehow, but every time when we got to somebody, I was like, I don't think he's going to fit here, or they're going to go.
Nobody else going like off ball linebacker is not a first round thing. So
I think when we talked about Malcolm Rodriguez, and we've talked about even a guy like who we signed from the Commanders. I mean, Holcomb, when he's we need guys who can hit 100 times. That's all you need.
Yeah. And that's kind of what Jack Campbell. That's his kind of archetype. So yeah, no, it'll be good. The other things is we're gonna see where Hendon Hooker ends up. We're gonna see. Friday is gonna be, in my opinion, Friday is more fun than Thursday. But that's just my weird ass talking. But
balls deep in the Miami Heat Game 6. So
yeah. I'm honestly every single day I wake up, I go to Tankathon and see what the odds are, and that's my day. So
there you go. A little Spurs Heat talk right there. Different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again for having me on.
Probably fun. Thank you again, Sumuke. Awesome job. I think we did a great service to the first round. Please like, download, and subscribe to all our stuff online from Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, YouTube. You know the deal. Also, shout out to Stuck Up Clothing, finest fashion money can buy. They got new hats, as you can see, so follow them on Instagram. We'll tag them in our post. Follow Eyesight Mobile Eyewear Company as well. They are on Instagram. We will tag them. The mobile eyewear company that comes to you, as well as Seductions by Jax. Get your hair done, hair did, everything for this wedding season, prom season coming up. Follow them on Instagram. And again, Sumuke, if you want to give them your IG and stuff, I'm gonna tag you. But
hey, just tag me.
So,
if you want to yell at me for my picks for your team.
I wrote I'm gonna have a checklist, see if we got how many right, but we'll see how.
I'm interested to see, at least position wise, if we don't get the pick correct, and if we're the Reds, that's what we like to call right thinking. So
exactly, position. Yeah. I don't think our trades are gonna be happening, but you never. But again, thank you guys for rocking with us. That's Mook. I'm the Pharaoh, Michael Shanoudi. Stay breezy, stay easy. One love.